Many thanks for choosing us. This afternoon, it is a cry of frustration on the lips of Ghanaian residents in Ukraine that are desperately looking for food supplies and a safe place to hide as they're unsure of what could happen. Russia has launched a special military operation in Ukraine's eastern Donbas region. In a televised address, Russian President Vladimir Putin urged Ukrainian soldiers who were facing off Russian-backed rebels to lay down weapons and return to their homes. Correspondent Thomas Sparrow, who's with our partners DW in Berlin, reports that tension remained high in Europe since Russia decided to formally recognize two separatist regions in Ukraine.
This might sound like a conflict far away, and geographically it is far away from Africa, but it touches on fundamental political and legal principles of countries worldwide that are seen as key to guaranteeing a peaceful coexistence. Russia's decision to formally recognize two regions that are part of Ukraine, another country, have been interpreted as going against principles like respecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of states or committing to the peaceful settlement of disputes. This interpretation is what has led the EU, the US and other countries to impose sanctions on Russia. There is concern about the possible implications of Russia's move, and it's a concern that goes well beyond Europe or the United States. One of the most powerful statements shared widely even here in Europe actually came from Kenya's permanent mission to the United Nations during a Security Council urgent meeting in which the ambassador precisely stressed that these key principles have been undermined. Now, beyond statements, the preferred action against Russia have been economic sanctions on individuals and organizations, such as banks, as well as measures to hurt Russia's ability to finance its military efforts. Germany also froze a key gas pipeline connecting Russia and Germany. It's been described as the most controversial piece of infrastructure in the world right now. An $11 billion pipeline under the Baltic Sea ready to send Russian gas directly to Germany. But German Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced the project would be frozen in response to Russia's latest moves in Ukraine. It's certainly a risky decision. There are concerns that gas prices could increase and that not only Russia, but also Germany could suffer economically. There are discussions about what this could mean for Germany's energy security. But the immediate importance of this decision lies in the political message that it sends, one of condemnation to Russia and at the same time one of support to Germany's allies. For a long time, the US, but also various European countries, had been critical of this project because they believe it leaves Europe vulnerable and it would give too much power to Moscow.
Thomas Sparrow with Berlin's DW brought us those updates, but Putin says the latest invasion is an act of self-defense to protect people, including Russian citizens who had been subjected to genocide in Ukraine. Some Ghanaian residents in Ukraine say they're living in fear and unsure of what may happen as explosions have been heard in parts of the country.
We started doing the online classes. We have online classes. We write the tests and exams, tests and quizzes online. But today we are supposed to have biology class, but they said that all the classes has been cancelled or hold on for now. So we don't know what will happen. So that's, and then we are all stranded here. We don't even know what to do.
We are calling on the government today with all possible means because we don't want to wait for things to get a hand when there wouldn't be any inbound and outbound flights to the government to help the student body, the Ghanaian body in Ukraine. With any means, the people here are really panicking.
One of our senior, he told us, he also told us that we should get our necessary document with us, like our passport, our student card, and then water. They all keep on hitting on the same information that we should keep those documents and money with us should in case of anything, then we know what to, but nobody should move out. If there's something, then you should ask the Ukrainian so that they can show us where we can find the shelter. Currently, I have 2 bottles of water and then 4 biscuits with me, of which I went out this morning to go and buy. I bought it this morning. I can't control my tears. I don't know what will happen because yesterday we were there. We are not hearing anything. And then in the night, I don't know, because I was awake learning. I was also right from that 12 o'clock to right now. I've never put my head down.
There's a statement from government of Ghana on this, and I'll read them the government of Ghana is gravely concerned about the security and safety of our over 1,000 students and other Ghanaians in Ukraine, and has asked them to shelter in place in their homes or in government places of shelter. And this is found on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Twitter page. It says, as we engage authorities, our relevant diplomatic missions and our honorary consul on further measures. We can now speak with the General Secretary of NUGS on how they feel about what's going on in Ukraine. I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. How does all of this come across to you as NUGS President?
I'm General Secretary.
General Secretary.
Point of correction. We just spoke with the ministry. I just left there actually, and it appears that the ministry is now going to cabinet over the issue, and it doesn't appear that there's clearly any plans to evacuate the students as it were, and then the ministry is yet to even have full details of the number of students who could be evacuated, because the ministry only has data on the students there on Government of Ghana scholarship. And there are some people who are paying their own fees, some people who got scholarships through other means and all those things. They have no information on them. So to carry out an evacuation now would mean that the ministry would have to first have all that information, trace the various locations, give, gathering points and all that. And we issued our earlier communication action for evacuation ahead of the airstrikes that happened this dawn. So all those dynamics have changed, and they have security implications as to whether or not the students can even move. So it's a difficult spot to be. And it pains me that, students have been given signals and heads up to our mission in Bern, that's Switzerland, over this issue for the past 1 month. Okay, NUGS Ukraine has been giving them heads up about the situation and why they need to bring an outline for the past 1 month, but up till now, nothing of the sort is done. And in our meeting with them, we expressed worry over why, the ministry, unlike the embassy, that's the embassy in Switzerland, unlike the other embassies who are responsible for Ukraine, did not issue any clear outline that, students, this is what we expect of you. If your stay in Ukraine is not really relevant, then you should, consider leaving. There was no such thing up until this point from our meetings over there. So it's a very dire situation. It's a confused situation, even for the ministry. Evacuation, I don't see it inside. I don't see the ministry being able to, carry out an evacuation anytime soon. That is the reality.
Anthony Julius, he's General Secretary of NUGS. I'm grateful for your time. Now, the military command says it has commenced investigations into the touching of houses at Ntobrosu in the Trimamponua district of the Ashanti region. A military task force set ablaze a number of excavators in the town during an exercise to clamp down on illegal mining activities. Some residents, however, allege the soldiers burnt houses near the site. General Commander Officer Central Command Brigadier General Joseph Afo says investigations are ongoing into the traces of petrol leading to the fire on the house.
I must say, the operation was very successful, but sadly, an unfortunate incident happened during the operations. Around 07:30 hours, one of our teams deployed at Ntobrosu at the Echuma in Ponua district sighted 4 excavators which have been used for massive destruction on the River Ofin. These excavators were moved and parked close by the river, which is also close to the settlement. 2 excavators were set ablaze, but tragically, a close-by house which was being used by the illegal miners as a fuel storage to supply fuel for the excavators caught fire. This happened because, though the house was quite far from the burning excavators, the fuel spillage from the house to the excavators also caught fire, causing the fire to travel to the house. Fortunately enough, no lives were lost. Efforts on the part of the personnel, our personnel, present to prevent the fire from reaching the house was thwarted when the locals started attacking them with stones and other offensive implements. The personnel called in the fire service around Nkawie, and on their arrival, they were equally assaulted and their fire tender destroyed. I would like to assure you that investigations would be conducted immediately to ascertain the circumstances that led to this unfortunate incident. I also want to use this opportunity to reach out to the communities. We rely on your support to eradicate illegal mining and thus save our environment. To achieve this, our communities must also play a crucial role in these operations. I would also wish to take this opportunity to impress upon the media to be cautious in their reportage on this singular situation in order not to undermine the good intent of the Ghana Armed Forces in the just cause so as to consolidate the gains we have made in the fight.
Asset North MP George Achekwesin has cited the petitioner in his case for contempt. He says Michael Ankuma Nemfa lied before the Court of Appeal when he deposed to an affidavit that the issue of the interpretation of Article 942A did not arise at the trial court in Cape Coast. Lawyer for the MP, Chacho Chikata, wants the court to commit him to contempt because the issue of Article 94 Clause 2A did arise at the High Court. Joining me for more is our Central Regional Correspondent, Richard Kwejo Nyako. Richard, how is all this coming up from the Achekwesin's camp? All right, so we just dropped, we lost Richard Kwejo Nyako. He's our Central Regional Correspondent. We'll be getting him back to tell us more. Right now, let's go to Parliament because MP for Medina, Francis Sosu, says he will file an urgent question in Parliament on why the Gender Ministry is silent when many women are being abused and accused of practicing witchcraft. A video showing a priest torturing 2 Ghanaian women at his camp has sparked anger among local authorities in the northeast region. The 2 women from Sakogo in the East Mamprusi municipality were accused of being witches and forced to the camp to participate in a ritual test that will confirm or deny the allegations against them. The disturbing footage intercepted by Joy News showed the priest strangling the 2 women with a broom before dragging their bodies on the floor to force them to confess. But the Gender Ministry has been silent. Before we bring you views from MP Francis Soso, let's watch the story.
With a pastor who held a so-called deliverance service last week in the community and in the process accused 2 women of being witches. These women refuted the allegation, but as the norm in the community, they are demanded to face a witch doctor or spiritual priest for a ritual test to prove or otherwise the accusation. To do this, the women were taken several miles away to the camp of a notorious priest in neighboring Togo instead of the Gambaga Raners Palace. This disturbing video you are about to see, intercepted by Joy News, showed the moment the 2 women arrived at the camp. In this camp, unlike in Gambaga, where only a fowl is needed to determine the innocence or guilty of an accused person, the process is done differently, mostly through physical torture by the priest. Here, if a victim pleads guilty, she is immediately handed back to her accusers. On the other hand, if she pleads innocence, the priest must exact a confession from them by any means possible. In this case, both women maintain their innocence and so must participate in the ritual test. The first woman is made to face the shrine while on her knees. The priest appears from her back with two brooms which he binds together across her neck and presses firmly and hard until she's almost unconscious and forced to confess. The woman is released immediately after the confession is exacted. The second accused appears, and the process is repeated on her. Samson Lar is a local expert in witchcraft. He's the current coordinator of the Gambaga Witches Camp. Hear his analysis of the video.
In the process to confirm whether the woman is really a witch or not is what you just saw. They use a broom, they talk to their ghosts, and they use the broom on you. If you are able to come out of it, it means you are not. But if the broom handles you, you could see in the video what they are doing to the women. Some almost even died. And that is when they will now ask you to say the truth and be free. Is that what we want? I ask myself a lot of questions.
The executive director of the Sane Institute of Professor John Azuma says the state has failed to support vulnerable women accused of practicing witchcraft. He wants the state to be responsive to the plight of women which have been tortured.
Politicians, like with any society, when the thing is out of view, is out of mind. So out of sight, out of mind. So we need to keep this up, and I am so grateful that you are doing this. Yeah. But to follow up on what Honorable said, I think that there are enough provisions for people to be charged. But if you rely on the victims to go and report, look at this poor woman. She will not go to the police. She cannot go to the police. The community will prevail on her. They will put pressure on her not to report this issue. The state must take these things up. Yeah. This is something that the state should step up. And when these cases are reported, they are never prosecuted to the end. They put pressure on them to drop the cases, and all interference, even sometimes interference from lawmakers, who will ask these victims to drop these cases. Yeah. So I think everybody needs to be up, and the media have to keep the spotlight on this, interview the right people. I am glad you got Honorable here. Call the MP of the area where this is happening. Yeah. Interview them, put them on the spot. Hold their feet to the fire. This is how we have to go with the advocacy and the pressure.
Meanwhile, MP for Medina is supposed to be filing an urgent question in Parliament to ask why the Gender Ministry has been quiet over all of this.
Ministry has been, loudly silent in this area, and for me, it calls for a lot of concern.
We can now go back to Cape Coast, where Asin North MP Joja Chikwesin has cited the petitioner in his case for contempt. He says Michael Ankoma Nimfa lied before the Court of Appeal when he deposed to an affidavit that the issue of the interpretation of Article 942A did not arise at a trial court in Cape Coast. Lawyer for the MP, Chacho Chikata, wants the court to commit him to contempt because the issue of Article 942A did arise at the High Court. My colleague, Kwejo Nyako, who is Central Regional Correspondent, has now joined us. Kwejo Nyako, tell us more about this contempt which is being cited by Judge Kwesen and his lawyers.
So, Aisha, 3 motions were before the court today. The first one was the issue of contempt, where Chachi Chikata, the lawyer for the Asin MP, was pressing that the Court of Appeal should commit Mr. Michael Ankuma Nimfa, who is the petitioner in the case of the MP, to commit him to contempt because he lied at the trial court, at the High Court, where the matter came under the High Court, where adjudication was done. And for the lawyers of the MP, the issue of Article 94.2a, the interpretation of it came or arose when the matter came for adjudication, and so they did not understand why Mr. Michael Ankuma Nimfa would depose to an affidavit that it did not arise during the course of the matter. That was the first motion that appeared before the court, and so that matter was adjourned to the 22nd of March, where the Court of Appeal would decide on it. The second one was another process, but it is also dependent on the Supreme Court dealing with the interpretation of Article 94.2a, and so they are waiting on the Supreme Court to also decide, so that all of these put together will come before the court on the 22nd of March, where the court will take some positions on them, and so that was what really transpired in court today.
How has the petitioner himself, Ankuma Nimfa, taken this? Has he responded?
Well, so the representative of the petitioner, they are saying that it's just a delay tactics that is being employed by the lawyer for the Asin North MP. They feel that it is no issue at all. They are very sure that that matter did not really arise at the High Court when the matter came under adjudication, and so they have no problems at that. But they want the right thing to be done, and so they are waiting for the Court of Appeal to decide on the 22nd of March. They feel that the MP has no issue, and then their case will be thrown out of court.
Kwejanya is our correspondent in the Central Region. Workers of Textiles Ghana Limited, producers of GTP fabric, have staged a demonstration this morning over poor working conditions. Take a look. We're still live on Joy News today. We'll take a break. When we return, there is more in business.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Darrell Kwao. Workers of Textiles Ghana Limited, producers of GTP fabric, have staged a demonstration today over poor working conditions. We have some images for you. Take a look at this. Well, let's link up with our correspondent Kwame Yanka, who is there for us. What exactly are their concerns, Kwame?
Okay, so for the workers who are currently not working today, per the pictures and videos I sent to the office, you realize that they are in red band, just trying to say that finally they would want the managing director in the person of Fatma Duro to, as it were, vacate her post or be stuck in this sense.
Okay, and what has been the response so far from management of the company?
Okay, so Dario, as I speak to you, Industrial and Commercial Workers Union and leadership of ICU is currently in a meeting with management, and in fact, as and when the meeting ends and any information gathered, I will share with our viewers and audience in this case.
All right, Kwame Yanka, thanks very much indeed for that update. We'll keep following that for you. As you heard Kwame Yanka say, there's a meeting underway between the ICU and management of Textiles Ghana Limited over the issues raised by the workers. Now, former Finance Minister said Tekwe wants government to demonstrate bold commitment in addressing challenges with the fiscal economy to send a positive signal to investors and the financial markets. According to him, that is the only way which will convince investors to repose confidence in the economy and help stabilize the city. He also told Joy Business that 20% cut in expenditure would do very little.
I'm afraid the market seems to look for, a bigger package, than that announcement. And why? Because When you say you are cutting expenditure by 20%, one, you have statutory payments, and then you also have quasi-statutory payments, which happen to be, the two major items that are taking a lot of, revenue. That is compensation and interest. So if you say you are cutting 20%, you have to meet those commitments. Of course, we know, the policy not to make NAPCO and others permanent, which will mean that at best the compensation package will stabilize. But you also have in the wings the strikes and negotiations that are taking place, and when that happens, it will increase, the compensation package. I think we have a long tradition for negotiations, and there's a framework for it. So I would only hope that that framework is what is being followed. But I'm talking more about, the packages and what. But the main point I'm making is that the 20% may not have an impact, on compensation, and two, it may not have an impact, or it will not have an impact on interest payments, because otherwise what? You cut it and you default because the commitment is there. So then, and if you look at the fact that these are taking all of, total revenue, even if you take it to be tax revenue, then your 20% impact is going to have on capital, other recurrent expenditure, mainly. And those are already, mathematically less than or just above 20% of the budget anyway. So what is it that we are cutting?
All right, and that's it for business. Before we go, just a programming alert for you. Joy Business Social comes off tonight. I'll be speaking with Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, energy strategist, on fuel prices, why they're going up, and if they will remain that way. That is 6 p.m. across our social media platforms tonight. Don't miss it. Up next, sports.
Let's come home and hear from the Minister of Youth and Sports, Mustafa Usif, who says the government is committed to hosting the Africa Games 2023 as it is meant to promote Africanism and unite the rest of the continent. According to him, sport is a major tool to bring the continent together, and Ghana will serve as a great host to the event.
The African Games is all about bringing the youth of our continent together to exhibit their talents, promote Pan-Africanism among the upcoming generation, and create opportunity to develop friendship through sports. The exposure to other perspectives gained during socialization at the African Games makes participants, officials, and spectators more understanding and also tolerant to others' view and interests. The eventual impact on society is that people learn to peacefully coexist and resolve their differences more amicably rather than through violence means. It is for this reason and many more that the government of Ghana, and indeed the forefathers of the continent of Africa, deem it convenient to establish and support the organization of the African Games since 1965. The objective of the African Games are firstly to complement the United Nations plan of action to transform the world through the Agenda 2030 for sustainable development, and secondly, to contribute to achieving the Africa Union Agenda 2063, the Africa we want.
To boxing now, and former IBF lightweight champion Richard Comey does not think the structure of the inaugural professional boxing league will inure to the benefits of boxers. There's more in this report by my colleague, Asari Bidiako.
The Professional Boxing League, which was launched in December 2021, will go down in the annals of Ghana boxing as one of the most significant showpieces on the country's boxing calendar. The Ghana Boxing Authority and iMass Media Group have signed a 5-year deal The new GBA management team's vision and efforts were given a huge boost by IMAS, which decided to support the development of boxing in the country by committing to invest a total of $1.7 million into the sport. The league has begun on a promising note, but not all stakeholders are happy with its introduction. One of such persons is former IBF lightweight champion Richie Comey.
You can't bring in something like something like this when everything is messed up. You know what I mean? And I know they want to do this. They want to do it because they've seen the money involved, and they know that is why they're trying to do it behind the promoters, the managers, because they know they give the bosses any amount of money and then they keep the rest. And that is, these guys put their life on the line. Remember, I always say this, you put these guys out there, you think they are stupid. No, all bosses are stupid. I ain't stupid. You know what I mean? And boxing, you need to be mentally strong and be wise. You know what I mean? Because it takes a lot to be a boxer. If it's easy, everyone will be boxer. You know what I mean? So it shouldn't be playing with the intelligence of the boxers. You know what I mean? Some of them are wise, just that they need someone like me who can see it how it is. And
the Ghana Professional Boxing League is a bi-weekly competition which provides a platform for boxers in the country to exhibit their talent.
This is how we wrap up sports here on Joy News today with me, Muftau Nabila Ablai. Up next is World News.